before I move to Tash, we have just created a very special inbox for your applications called TNA and NDA at nnuh.nhs.uk, which I'm very excited about because we only got it this morning, just in the nick of time. So we will have TNA and NDA inbox for you to send your applications into, which is great. Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing. As I say, do write in the chat and we'll pick up the chat at the end. And I will hand over now to Tash to share what happens at the University of Suffolk.
Yeah, it's lovely to see everyone, and thanks for the invite. Really appreciate the chance to share what we do at the University of Suffolk. So I don't know if any of you have been down to our campus on the waterfront in Ipswich, but over the last couple of years we've recently had the Health and Wellbeing building built. It's our brand new simulation suite, so we've got better facilities than we had previously. So that's sort of the building on the right, and the one on the left on the screen is our waterfront building, which is where our main teaching happens, and we're in the process of our library being moved into there to make more of a student space up in the other part of campus. So this shows we are right on the waterfront in Ipswich. The two buildings highlighted, the one on the left that's in brown still, this picture was taken before the Health and Wellbeing building was modified updated, but it does show where we are on the campus, or where we are in Ipswich. I love the marina. It's certainly very nice on a sunny day. Entry requirements, as Coral said, we're sort of pretty standard with the other programs. One of our unique selling points is that you can be on a minimum of a 30-hour per week contract. I don't know if the NNUH offers sort of those in-between ones, but some of our apprentices will be on 33 hours, some will be 34 and a half, some will be sort of that full-time. So that's completely flexible, and we like to feel that those that are part-time or slightly more part-time than others really get the benefit of being able to come onto a programme that may be inaccessible if they were full-time. So we ask for a level 5 foundation degree. It could be as a nursing associate, it could be as an assistant practitioner, and as Coral said, GCSEs grade C or above, or the 4, or functional skills level 2. So as we've said, our programme starts in February, and we have a 2-year programme, and how we've split it up is we've split it into blocks. So we found that's been really beneficial for helping you keep track of only having to do one thing at a time. So you will be in theory with us. We teach 2 days a week on our campus in Ipswich. Those are Tuesdays and Thursdays. Taught day is 9:30 to 3:30. In a theory block as well, you get Wednesdays where we give you online learning, and the other 2 days of the week to make up your hours are for independent study. So it could be working towards your assignment, it could be working towards the module content, whatever it is you need to be doing at that time. So the picture on screen shows the standard planner. If you are on a 30-hour contract, we have an adaptation of that, whereby the blocks tend to be extended a bit longer. Slight drawback for your managers is that they don't tend to see you quite as much, but they're usually pretty accepting of the fact that actually after 2 years they will get a registered nurse. So we have placement blocks, which will be in the NNUH. We don't place you where you work, but we do place you in a range of other specialisms. So hopefully you'll get a nice range of experiences. They vary in length. The first couple of 6 weeks, then you've got a couple of 5-week placements, and then you've got a longer 10-week placement at the end of the programme. So we kick off with level 5. So foundation degree, you're already working at level 5. You work at that from February until September, and then from September onwards, we go straight into level 6 for the last sort of 16 months of the programme. Just want to highlight in your work weeks, because of the NMC hours you need to meet, you will be expected to be released from work for 7.5 hours. It's typically on a Wednesday, because we do a check-in with you as a virtual classroom for that. As Coral said, our application process, obviously you've got the dates now for your expressions of interest. We will then liaise with Coral and her team to organise some interviews. Typically we do them via Teams. So we like to have a nice chilled out approach, ask you a few questions, get to know you, make sure you feel we're the right fit for you as well as you're the right fit for us. Assuming you're successful, we then go through and look at some eligibility checks, compliance, getting you to make an application to us, and then we will organise for some onboarding meetings. So this is where we look at your current skills and what you've got, what you need to learn, and then we can adapt some of our teaching to make sure that we're not teaching you things you already know, but we're developing on from that. We also ask you to complete a practice assessment document, which is the MyPad, because you're effectively coming in halfway through the traditional nursing degree, the 3-year programme. All of that does take time, but we try and make it as painless as possible. We will be honest and upfront with you. If we think something's not going quite to plan, we'll be talking to you as we're going. So any offers we make remain conditional until January. Now that sounds horrific, and I know that. But as I said, we will be upfront and honest with you. If something's not going quite right, okay, this is what we need. We haven't had many in the last couple of years whereby we've got to later stages and said actually you're not able to be successful, and I'm hoping to continue that trend with our sort of upfront honesty with you guys. There's various bits of compliance documents, signatures, all those sorts of bits that happen as well over the next few months. So we've recently had some feedback from our apprentices, and I just wanted to share some of those comments with you. I'm not going to talk through them because you're able to have a read and look at them, but just have a read of what our apprentices think. I like to think we're awesome, but it's our apprentices that really matter.
Everybody, again, as I said, my name's Gail. I work at the Open University. I'm actually a child nurse by background. I probably should have said that at the beginning. The way we structure things at the OU is slightly different to brick universities, as we call them. So I am actually a nurse by background, but the role that I now kind of hold is almost like a conduit between the Open University and NNUH as one of my trusts. I work across the UK. We're remote based because obviously we're an online university. So I currently live in Cumbria, so quite a long way from Norfolk. But it was lovely to see all the waterfront campuses and things like that at Ipswich. I'm learning a lot about Norfolk since liaising with Coral about geography and things like that. So it's really lovely to see you have some really lovely areas there. So one of our obviously unique selling points at the Open University is we are an online university. So there we don't have any attendance at campuses. Everything is done via virtual platforms, which sometimes feeds in really nicely for life and people who are maybe having lots of things to juggle at a time, because you can study at a time that suits you throughout the day. There are fixed tutorials, but actually how you then do your study time throughout your course is kind of dependent upon what fits with you and your lifestyle. So that might be something that really appeals to you, in the fact that you have the flexibility of studying at a time that suits you. So obviously the philosophy of the Open University has been since its duration that we want to open education up to anyone, so that they're able to study at any time and any place that kind of suits them. So we have a really widening participation philosophy, and it just allows people that maybe who haven't had the opportunity to come to university before would be able to come and study with us. So how do we kind of deliver the registered nurse degree? It's obviously different from a brick university from the point of view that obviously you don't attend physical campuses, but obviously we still deliver the modules in the same way as anyone else. We have content and tutorials, but they are just in the online format. So we have virtual classrooms, we have virtual discussion rooms, you have exactly the same support as you would within a brick university, from the point that you have lots of tutors that are there to support you both in the modular content and when you go on to placement. You have student support services that are there to act as support for you, and we have a dedicated apprentice support team which just looks after all of our apprentice students that we are there. But obviously you have the ability of talking to Coral because she is a really good resource as well, based at the trust. But we've got lots of videos, animations, we do online masterclasses, so it's a real kind of rich patchwork of lots of different activities. So it appeals to lots of different learning styles. It doesn't just look at one particular style itself, it looks at lots of different learning styles in the fact of encouraging you to kind of work together. It obviously involves reading, looking at videos, just to give you the most richest experience as possible to kind of gather all of the information that you need to be amazing practitioners by the time you qualify. So our entry requirements, I think, are probably going to be the same as everybody else. So obviously we would want you to have a level 5 foundation degree. As Coral says, at the moment NNUH only offer the NA to RN with the OU, so you need your NA qualification. You obviously need your maths and English grade C or 4 and above, and obviously we are the same in the fact that we do offer a 30-hour per week option within our course, or 32, probably very the same as Tash. So sorry, Tash, we're very similar to you in the fact of what we offer. And obviously we would want you to have the support of your line manager as well, and that would form part of your application process via the internal process that Coral and her team are doing. Lovely. So probably, again, I think we're probably all going to be very similar from the point of view of the application process. We've just started using Aptem as our onboarding process, which is an online tool. So all of your application form for the OU is completed via the Aptem portal, and all of your information, and it's kind of like a dialogue between the two. So when you apply, you would be invited to kind of like a webinar hosted by the OU, which talks you through the application process and how Aptem works and how you set up an account. So this will be the second time we've used Aptem for our recruitment, so it is still quite a new system for us, but it looks like a really good system because it keeps everything in one place, so you can kind of keep track of what you're doing and how you're doing it. So but there may well be a few teething problems because obviously it is still quite a new system. Lots of universities used it. Where I worked before, we used to use Aptem, so it's not a new system and it works really well, it's just new to the OU. So we're just kind of trying to kind of navigate that together at the moment, which oh lovely, Tasha's use it too, and it is really good, isn't it? It's I think it kind of keeps everything in the one place, but I think like anything, when you put anything in practice, there's always a few teething issues. But obviously Coral and her team will decide who is able to kind of go through to the OU process. Then obviously you will be invited to interview, the same as Tash said, and if you're successful, you're obviously offered on a conditional offer from the point of view. And then obviously again, the same as with Tash said, in the fact that we obviously go through a series of compliance checking from the point of view of making sure that you've got your maths and English. There's lots of documents that need signing. You'll do a skills scan, or a skills radar as it's called on Aptem, which is getting you to look at like mapping yourself where you are or where you think you are in regards to your skills, knowledge and behaviours, which shows that you are eligible for the apprenticeship in the fact that you have got a lot of good learning that you can do from undertaking the apprenticeship. So that all sits as part of the APTEM process, and you complete all of that online. And obviously that would take place between the October interview process and obviously when you start in February. So again, any offer that we make would be subject to all of those checks being made, and also DBS and occupational health checks as well. So probably the same as Tash, you know, it would be a while before you are kind of wholeheartedly allowed to kind of start. And I understand that is quite nerve-wracking for people, but obviously it is really important that we undertake all of the kind of checking and make sure that you have got the eligibility to do the course and obviously be eligible for the apprenticeship itself. We are slightly different to the University of Suffolk in the fact that our programme is 20 months in length, so it's just under 2 years, and that's probably one of our unique selling points, is it is quite quick. We undertake 3 modules during that 20-month period, 2 theory modules, which is the K210, Understanding Nursing Knowledge and Theory, and the K325, which is Assimilating Nursing Knowledge and Theory. And then you have 1 practice module in which you undertake a mixture of theory in the form of online seminars, and then you undertake 770 hours of practice hours within that module as well. And it's spread out across the 20-month period. So we've tried really hard so that there's not a huge degree of overlap in that period of time. So you are concentrating mainly on 1 module at the time. But there is a slight overlap between the end of the K210 and the beginning of 325. You're working in your core base during your theory time, and you will be given an off-the-job study day every week in which to either attend your online tutorials and or to do your relevant theory that you need to be doing in the background for each of the modules that you do. And then obviously for your placement blocks, which are normally divided into 3 blocks to make the 770 hours, you're released from your area and you go and undertake placements outside of your usual work area as a supernumerary student. But the modules are a mixture of self-directed learning, online tutorials, which are on a fixed day and time where the tutor delivers kind of like a 2 to 4 hour tutorial, and also one-to-one support sessions that might, or small group tutorials, but it's all online and usually given as 1 day a week off the job. And that obviously leads you to then create your qualification. And we've got some free learning resources that anyone can access. You don't have to be an OU student. So, you know, obviously distance learning is very different. If you've done your NA qualification at a brick university, an online degree is very different to being face-to-face. So there is a little unit that you can do to see it, actually, would you be able or ready to be a distance learner, because obviously you have to kind of have some good skills in managing your time effectively and actually allowing yourself to study. But there's lots of free resources there, so if you just click on the underlined links, that will take you to the OU and you can have a play and a look at some of the skills and modules that we have online, which will give you an overview as well of what our kind of material would look like.
So first of all, it's lovely to be invited, so thank you. Thank you everybody in the room. It's lovely to see lots of people interested in going to higher education. And it's lovely to hear about other people's course, so it feels quite inspiring to hear, full stop. So my name's Claire Brockwell. I'm an adult nursing lecturer. I'm also a module lead. There are 3 modules within our 2-year programme, and I'm the admissions lead. So I'm very interested in where you want to go and whether you want to come to us. You know that we're just a hop, skip and a jump across the road from you. That's a really beautiful thing. So you can see here, you might recognise some of these people because this is a video put together in 2024 about the nursing degree apprenticeship. And there is a link later in this presentation, so you can look at the links when you like afterwards. So one of the wonderful things about you applying for any of our universities is nursing is such a fabulous career and opens so many doors. So here we've got another video that really gives you a breadth of where nursing can take you. So again, I'm not going to ask you to click on the link there. We're going to move straight forward. So this is all about you and exploring your future. So one of the things that's beautiful about UEA is you'll be within the School of Health Sciences, is the biggest school within the university, but it is a huge and thriving university. And you can see it's a beautiful environment to study in. We've got a purpose-built environment. So you can see in the centre at the bottom of that image, there's our flagship Edith Cavell building that's simulation, nursing practice and simulation. So you're able to practice in a safe environment, all of the things that you're more concerned about or that you're not familiar with. It means that you're getting lots of technology to support you in your learning, but also you're in this really vibrant environment where you've got the Sainsbury Centre, you're surrounded by other students from other environments, you've got the sports centre, the library is second to none, and you can book environments. So you can book a tiny little room if you like to be really quiet and you like to study by yourself. You can book group environments where you've got you can share information. You've got big screens in order to interact with each other in terms of group work. You're probably already aware of lots of gigs and exciting things going on in terms of the lower common room and external things coming in. But above all, it's a green environment, it's beautiful, and it attracts so many clever people. So lots of cafes and things to go to. So our flagship building for nursing is the Edith Cavell building, which I was just showing you inside some of that simulation environment. But we're also very lucky in this region to attract so many clever brains from across the nation because we're at the centre of a research park. So the Norwich Research Park, we're very close partners with, and it means that we're bringing academics, we're bringing researchers, and you'll all know because you've already studied previously that that evidence-based practice is so important in order to deliver that person-centred care that we all want for our friends, our family, our populations. So we are very lucky in our course to be able to welcome so many vibrant people. So I hope that you're one of those people. So the people that make our university are our apprentices, our students, the staff, and we've got so many different support services. We'll talk about that in a moment. We're very lucky to have close partnerships with practice partners who meet with us regularly and give us tips and hints and help us understand what it feels like in the real world so that there's no disconnect between the theory and the practice. And so in an apprenticeship, the government makes sure and Ofsted evaluates that we really work coherently as a team. So it's really important that you feel that and that our apprentices feel that. We have so many vibrant service users who help us throughout our process. So you'll see them if you are interviewed with us as part of the interview process, but you'll also see them throughout the course in enriching the information that we give. And of course, we've got to be really relevant to the population we serve. And you can see there that it is a huge population in Norfolk and that we really benefit from so many practice partners and specialists, the specialist knowledge that those staff have. So what are we offering? So I think you've heard 2 or 3 times already from Cohort and from UoS and OU about the entry requirements, and those are very similar, so I'm not going to repeat that bit. We offer a 2-year degree apprenticeship which builds on previous learning. So you do, in line with the 2 other universities, we do undertake an accreditation of prior learning to celebrate all that clever learning you've already done, which might be as an assistant practitioner, or it might be as a nursing associate. But you can see that eyes on the prize, you'll come out of it if you're successful in your apprenticeship as a registered nurse, and that's definitely to be celebrated. So I think we've got to remember why you're applying for these things. You're applying because you want to make a difference in health and care, but also you want to develop your career. So what we're offering at the University of East Anglia is an adult nursing degree apprenticeship, and that allows apprentices to deliver more complex care to the people who need it. And we do benefit from the fact that when you come to our course, you all bring so much professional knowledge. And that's a beautiful thing that we really respect. So we're not just teaching from the front of the class, you're all teaching each other. So it's very interactive throughout. We do make sure that we celebrate and bring in all of that specialist knowledge, because to me, it's such a gift that you bring in all this knowledge from a variety of different health environments. So although you're all attending today from the North and Norwich, we host apprentices who come from GP practices, who come from the community, who come from prisons, who come from a variety of different environments, and that really enriches your learning. So we're making sure that we create very high quality learning, and to do that, we work very closely with our apprentices, and we make sure that we close that loop of communication between the university, the employer, and the apprentice. And to help with that, we have a progress review coordinator, Jade, who's very a brilliant advocate for apprentices. So she's helping see how you progress through your course, supporting any personal needs, helping flag to your advisor. So your advisor is a person who follows you for the duration of your course, and they get to know you as an individual. So what is it that your personal ambitions are? What is it that you're more worried about? And what can we flag you within our environment so that you can get the most from your learning? And you can see there that we meet the requirements for the Nursing and Midwifery Council. And it used to be the Institute for Apprenticeships and Technical Education, but now Skills England, to achieve that registered nurse degree. At the moment, we have approval for our entry point in October. And as Coral said, we're expecting approval. So it is subject to approval from the NMC, our February entry point. Okay, lots of blocks, lots of stuff on this screen, really to show you that we're meeting two different standards. So we're meeting the nursing and midwifery standards and platforms from the Future Nurse standards, which you might already be familiar with. It's worth thinking about in terms of interviews, wherever you choose to go, to think about the Nursing and Midwifery Council and what their standards are, and apprenticeship standards, because that will help you in your interview process. You can see here that those platforms and the duties from the apprenticeship match fairly closely. At the bottom left, you can see that we accredit those blocks for becoming a professional and promoting health and well-being. And then your first module within our course is an 8-month module, which runs from February to, I'm working out 8 months, from February onwards for 8 months. And then your second module, complexity and innovation, you get to do really exciting projects in collaboration with your employer. So it's about you innovating, thinking about how you can meet particular needs, solve particular issues, increase the capacity of your employment environments. And then the final 8-month module, preparation for registration, it's masses about leadership and really how you're going to make the most of your skills for your future career, and tying together all of the learning that you've brought together so far. So we've got some real strengths within the course. One of those is that our nursing practice and simulation lead, Claire Snelling, works across all of our modules. So that means that right from the admissions process, when you're completing your accreditation of prior learning, we're really careful to read what you say about what previous experience you've got, so that we can stretch you further and so we can reduce repetition as much as possible. You can see that it is a 2-year course, and although it is very full on, and you'd want that because you want to get the most out of your education, we have been careful to try and make sure there's as little overlap as possible. So it is a blended learning approach, and what I mean by that is some of it is in person and some of it is online. The course is approximately 50% academic learning, which includes in-person and online learning, and a variety of different ways of enhancing your knowledge and employability. I showed you earlier our simulated practice building, and that sits between that 50%, within that 50% of academic learning. And then the other 50%, so important in all of health sciences, that 50% in the real world, that practice education delivered in those environments with specialist skilled workforces who are meeting the needs of people and the public every day. So they're able to make you aware of all of their knowledge within those assessed periods. So each 8-month module begins with a few weeks in which you're learning full time, and that's really important in terms of you building that community feeling, in terms of you building your confidence and your comfort and your knowledge of the people who are supporting you, but also of each other, because you're such a good network across Norfolk as apprentices. Your peers, so we want you to connect with your peers and understand the requirements of the module, and that timing weans down to where you're attending 1 day a week. When you're on placement, you attend 4 days on placement, and then you attend 1 day a week for your academic learning. So it's a full-time week when you're on placement. We do benefit throughout our course from the support of our practice partners and from service users. It looks a bit scary. I'm just going to go through the highlights. So really, I've said that at the start of your programme, there are a few full-time weeks so that you can connect with everybody and get to know things, and then it drops down to 1 day a week. And then I want you to look at the blue and green bits, which are the placements. So you can see that in that first, so you've got 3 stripes, each is an 8-month module, and in that first 8-month module, you have 2 placements. One, if you're, so for instance, the Norfolk and Norwich is a large institution, and so within that environment, they've got enough opportunities to give you contrasting experiences in terms of practice. So contrast means you're having a placement somewhere that you're not familiar with, so that it's stretching your learning. Post is a placement where you're in a completely different institution. So you're learning about different policies, different practice, and we're stretching your knowledge even further. And then if you look at the very right-hand side on that first strip, you can see there's a supernumerary. All of your placements are supernumerary, but that final orange bit is about you celebrating how much you've learned and demonstrating to your employer how much you've learned. And it's making the most of those extended learning opportunities that I'm sure you're pointing other students to when they come to your areas. So it's really you planning ahead to really get every drop of goodness out of that placement so that your employer can see how much you've developed, but so you can really stretch any further learning in that employed environment. One of the beauties of our particular course is that every hour is scheduled. So if you follow the planner and you follow the timetable, you don't have to fight for your off-the-job learning as you might have had to do during a nursing associate course. So everything is scheduled. So as long as you stick to the schedule, that's really helpful. I'm more than happy to go through this in more detail at another time if you'd like. Just to remind you that this February cohort is subject to NMC approval. An apprenticeship is the fact that you're supported in your employment environment, you're supported by masses of services within the university, and you're building that connection with other people who are learning and have that hunger to learn. And for me as an educator, it's a privilege to teach people who are so hungry for knowledge. For me, teaching apprentices is more like teaching postgraduates, because you come with all that professional knowledge that we're respecting, but you're really hungry and you really want to understand what you're learning and you really invest. So that's a beautiful thing for us to learn. It really means that you're also able to support each other. So one of the things that we benefit from is apprentice voice. So people within our cohorts who help coordinate what you're all feeling. And we really craft our course both from feedback from apprentices, but also from that apprentice voice. Okay, so some of you may have studied at the University of East Anglia before, and some may not. So if you want to feel the vibe and feel what's going on, please do come to an open day. You can then be nosy and have a look at all of the different health professions. Nursing is hosted at the Edith Cavell building, and you can see that I've listed all of the open day dates there. I'm more than happy to answer questions at any time. I'd be very happy to see you tomorrow if you're free. Do come and have a look at the building, have a look at what we offer, and get a feel for the vibe. Okay, so here's a whole suite of videos to show us show you the diversity of apprenticeships that we host, and that means that together we're stronger. So we're very experienced in delivering apprenticeships, and we're very lucky with our practice partners to have achieved this Ofsted good rating that we're very proud of. Please do take the time to look at the videos. You can look at any that you wish, feel free. So this is really such a strong place for you to be. Your future's ahead. I've put some key contacts there in terms of email addresses. I think within the university, you're benefiting from so much teaching from across the whole faculty. We're a small team. We're here to communicate with you and nurture your development. And we hope that we'll be able to help support you in creating your future. Thank you so much for listening. And if you've got any questions, feel free.
Thank you, Claire, Gail and Tash, for your wonderful presentations, all so different and so interesting. So now it's over to those people on the call for any questions that you might have for any of our lovely university partners or for ourselves here in the PD&E team. Any questions, anyone? Or write in the chat as well if you haven't got a mic, of course. Stunned silence. You've all given such comprehensive information. It's really great. Katrina's asked, Gail, is there a timetable or planner for the OU? I didn't see one. Would you like to come give an answer for that one?
Yeah, I think it was on the bottom of the slide.
Yeah, it was,
Hopefully
wasn't it? Let me show you.
After.
Yeah,
Katrina,
I'll find it.
Yeah, we do. So it's spread out across the 20 months as best as possible to try not so that you're only concentrating on one thing at a time, to try and obviously not overload you too much, because obviously you are working at the same time with an apprenticeship. So yeah, it does go along. So you start with a theory module first, and then it's just at the very bottom there. And then the practice module comes in at the end of July, beginning of August. That runs for a whole year. You submit in the beginning of June normally, and then you start your second theory module in February. But hopefully that helps.
We've got another question from Kerry in the chat, but if I could go to Donna first, because her hand came up before the question in the chat, if that's all right.
Hello, yes, thank you. Just a quick one. I feel like I probably do have quite a few questions, to be honest. I'm just trying to weigh up lots of options in line with some recent news from the ward and how I might go forward. Is it possible to make a note of people's email address? I can maybe think about what my actual questions are. If they could just maybe go in the chat box or something. I don't want to hog the conversation now, and I'm not even sure what some of my questions are. I just know I I probably do need some guidance, if that's okay, please.
Donna, if you wanted to have a chat, obviously I can't necessarily answer all the specific university-based questions, but if you wanted to just have a general chat about the NDA and options, I'm more than happy to do that. Not just for Donna, for any of you, more than happy just to talk through NDA generally.
That would be super.
Happy to do that.
If you are,
I was just going to chip in and say the silly question is the one you don't ask. So please do. I mean, if you've got more than one question, it's probably an idea to arrange a catch up rather than playing email ping pong. But obviously that depends on your life, your time commitments and that sort of thing. And that's not just for you, Donna, that's for anybody. If you want to speak outside of this on a one-to-one basis, please do get in touch.
Super, thank you. That's really
Thanks,
helpful.
Tash. And thank you all for putting your email addresses in the chat already so swiftly. That's fab. So Kerry has asked, how many hours study is there for OU per week? I think you have answered that, Gail, but you can answer it, or I can answer it, but I'll let you answer it, seeing as it's your university. And if on a 30-hour contract, how many months would this extend the course by? So that's two very good questions from Kerry there.
Should I answer the stuff about the study leave? Because obviously Tasha's 30 hours might be slightly different, so I'll do my bit and then obviously let her come in.
Yeah.
Just before I do, I just wanted to say that obviously this is a really big decision for everybody to make, and so obviously make sure that you do ask all of the questions that you have, and even if you have to contact us on multiple occasions, I'm sure that Claire, Tash or I would be very happy to hear from you, because this is a big decision for you to make. So obviously you want to be sure that you are kind of signing up to the right organisation for you. So feel free to contact all of us. I'm going to volunteer us all, but I think we're of the same kind of, we're all nurses and we're all caring people. We obviously want people to feel supported and make the right decisions. So don't feel like you can't keep contacting us if you think of a different question after you've already asked it, because obviously we want you to make the right decision that's going to benefit you. Because it is, it's hard doing any kind of nurse training is a hard qualification, because obviously you're studying whilst working, and it is a lot to commit to. So obviously we want to make sure that you pick the right thing for you. Just kind of wanted to say that on the kind of back of everything. But from our point of view, the placements sit within I think you study hours, sorry, that was the question, wasn't it? So normally the off-the-job hours is at least 1 day a week. It's normally negotiated with the employer, and I think, Coral, if I'm right in thinking that the current off-the-job hours for OU are 12.5 in study weeks, and then on placement it goes down to 7.5 hours per week. But you have one designated day every week that you're there, apart from when you're on annual leave. And obviously that can be negotiated with your employer, but the hours vary slightly, but you have an hours target that you're working towards throughout your 20-month qualification, which is recorded every week on the MKM system that we use, but it's similar to what Tash spoke about in regards to the MyPad. It's like an online portfolio that we use for you to record all of your apprenticeship requirements. And we would all have the same apprenticeship requirements, where Claire was talking about progress review meetings, and because we're obviously all offering apprenticeships, that would be the same for all of us, that we have to comply with the apprenticeship regulations. So we would all have to do the same things. We might just slightly structure them or record them in a slightly different way, but we record all of our apprenticeship elements on an online portfolio system called MKM, which you would record your study time within. 30-hour placements and course. The 30-hour course for us at the OU is exactly the same. It's a 20-month course. The placement hours will obviously be slightly longer. So if you're on a 30-hour contract, when you're doing the placement block for the OU, you will practically be on placement for the majority of that block from the end of July till June the following year. So when your employers kind of sign up, they are kind of allowing you to go. Very similar, I think it was to the University of Suffolk, in the fact that they're not you're not around a huge amount of time, but obviously you're going away and getting lots of really good knowledge that you can bring back into your role and your substantive post once you qualify. So, you know, it's a really positive thing, but you are on placement quite a long time, obviously without your annual leave. Your annual leave is obviously still there, but we work really closely with the NNUH placement team to obviously give you the placements that you need, but it's still a 20-month duration, regardless of whether you're a 37 or a 30-hour substantive contract. But that's only the OU. I can't answer for Tash. Sorry, Tash.
Thank you, Gail. That's great. I think Kerry wouldn't be able to go to UoS because Kerry would be paediatric. But nonetheless, it would be useful to hear what Tash says about 30 hours, because there may be other people on the call who are interested in that.
Yeah, so 30 hours, it doesn't change the length of the program. What it does do is it reduces the length of your work blocks. So it means your employer sees you less. So we've got a set planner that you'll be given at the start. Your theory blocks tend to be slightly longer by a week, sometimes 2, depending on the length of the block. Placements again will be a week or 2 weeks longer, depending on the length of that placement block. That eats into work time. There's no getting around that, but so far our partners that have had this with us haven't had a problem with that. One thing I forgot to say was with annual leave is that we request it's booked within your work blocks. There is some flexibility with placement, but it all depends on capacity. But because our theory is in sort of such tight blocks, we do request no annual leave is booked during that time. But again, we can negotiate that on individual circumstance if we need to. It's more challenging to make up theory hours compared to say, you know, placement hours, because we have an NMC target that we have to meet for both.